Today marks the start of an exciting new season where we'll focus on the public sector, an area that feels traditional and slow to change, but in reality, it's on the verge of transformation, driven by groundbreaking technologies. At the forefront of this shift is generative artificial intelligence, or GenAI, which is already reshaping industries worldwide. We've talked about AI before, but today is different. We're looking at how these advanced technologies are being applied right here in Luxembourg, creating new possibilities for how public services operate and how they interact with citizens. To help us understand this evolution, we're excited to have two fantastic guests with us. Joining us today are Inès Baer, Head of Data Statistics and Labour Market Studies at ADEM, which is Luxembourg's national employment agency, and David Bernard, Manager in Industry and Public Sector Advisory at PwC Luxembourg. Together, they'll walk us through the current and future uses of GenAI in Luxembourg's public sector, the challenges and opportunities ahead, and what it means for the workforce of tomorrow. I'm your host, Christopher Rosa, and this is TechTalk, technology made simple over a cup of coffee. So grab your favorite beverage and let's jump right in.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of TechTalk. We are kicking off our new season about the public sector with the hot topic that's been at the forefront of innovation, generative AI.
Yes, more specifically in the public sector.
I said that, Christopher. Oui.
No, but
that's okay. You are distracted, I see.
Yes. No, but to emphasize, I think it's interesting as well because with our guests, so with Inès and David, that we will present as well. We just had a session with the public sector like we have every month. And today it was specifically about AI in the public sector with guests from the public sector here in Luxembourg. And I think it was a very interesting discussion. But you might tell us a bit more about it as well. And before we kick things off, maybe Inès and David, if you want to present yourself and maybe why you are here today for this episode. Inès, I suggest you.
Sure. So yes, hi, I'm Inès. I'm responsible for data statistics and labour market studies at ADEM, so the Luxembourgish Public Employment Service for those who do not know us. We have made some progress in AI, where we're always happy to share our experience, our challenges, our lessons learned, like we did now during the conference, and we are happy to share a bit more during the podcast.
Cool, good to have you with us.
And my name is David, so I work in PwC Luxembourg in the advisory practice, where we assist public sector in their digital transformation initiatives. And so, among others, we also assist them with AI implementation and help them to increase their efficiency and modernize themselves for the coming years.
Thank you, David. Nice to have you here as well. So we had a full season on GenAI already, I think 2 years ago. But as a reminder, can you explain what it is? GenAI briefly, and how it differs from standard artificial intelligence.
Yes, my point of view is that all AI or all machine learning is generative to some extent. So it generates rules based on learning relationships between data points without them being explicitly programmed. But those rules generated, they are usually hidden. So they are used by data scientists. What we call GenAI now is specific in the sense that it generates end-user content, text, images, music, and so on, rather than simply analyzing data. So it's more about creative content, unstructured content. It's more original. This comes with risks also of hallucinations. So there's such a thing as too creative, maybe, or as reinventing reality. What is particular as well about GenAI is that it's all based on deep learning, on neural networks. So it's quite black boxed, increasingly difficult to understand how it creates contents, increasingly difficult also to control because the results can be different from one day to another. So a lot of promise, but a lot of uncertainty also.
Definitely.
And then linked to the promises and the uncertainty, maybe question for you, David. How do you see in Luxembourg the current deployment of AI and GenAI today, and also maybe the perspective for where do you see it evolving in 5 years from now?
Yeah. So what we see is that Luxembourg basically started to get more into AI with the report on strategic vision for artificial intelligence that was published in 2019. Following that, the AI for Gov initiative was launched, where the public sector basically promotes different AI projects for public sector entities. What we see today that there are more and more AI initiatives coming from different entities, but we see that they're existing in, let's say, in an isolated way, and at the current moment there are less initiatives that might be let's say interministerial or that might affect different administrations. So and also currently there's no real, let's say, strategy on how to go from a proof of concept into the project. So what are the key criteria in order to really go from an idea that might be good for the public sector, but to a larger implementation and to take the different steps.
So there's quite some rooms for synergy.
For sure. Yeah.
I don't know if you asked Christopher. I feel like today our heads are in the cloud and not on GenAI. But did you ask about how do you see it evolving in the next
Yes.
years? Okay. You see, my head was...
No worries, but David, then how do you see it evolving in the situation in 5 years from now?
So when we look into 5 years from now, so I think one of the key factors is really going to be the synergy also in public sector and private sector. So AI is it's really such a large topic that neither private sector nor public sector, especially Luxembourg, is in the end it's a small country, so we really need to make the most of the synergies that we have, meaning that private and public need to work together also really through strategic partnerships and targeted initiatives. And so that's really one of the key factors for the future. And then we really have an opportunity also as Luxembourg, as we try to prod ourselves for quick decision making. So we should also see this as an opportunity for as a currently potential niche market where we can position ourselves as a country and take maybe a step ahead.
And speaking of deployment, what are some of the main use cases for the deployment of GenAI that you see at ADEM? So this ADEM. So this question is for you, Inès, or in the Luxembourgish public sector in general.
So in our case, we work a lot on natural language processing, trying to extract structured insights from unstructured text like job vacancies or CVs to get insights on what skills the labor market needs or offers. So we can do a lot of analysis on that. That's one of our main use cases. Then also we do natural language processing for classification. So we have a lot of classification tasks as most administrations do, like, for example, taking a job vacancy and classifying it by sector, by occupation. So this can be done automatically with natural language processing. Another use case where we have worked on is predicting the risk of long-term unemployment of individual job seekers. So to see if a job seeker registers with ADEM, what probability is there that this person will be staying unemployed for more than 6 months or more than 12 months, so become long-term unemployed, to offer more targeted, more intensive services to the job seekers that have a higher risk. And I see, so we have a data science for Gov community where we exchange about our use cases, and I see similar use cases actually across administrations. On the one hand, natural language processing can be for new insights, for classification, for chatbots, email bots, and on the other hand, predictions, fraud predictions, for example, also, which we don't do at the moment. I don't see a lot of large language model cases yet, maybe just because there's a more uncertainty around what can be done in the public sector, how can we ensure that we avoid biases, that we can explain our results. So this is not so much yet the case.
When you speak about that, one use case that I discussed with Xavier Lizoire, who presented the conference just before, that he saw for recruitment as well, was that they used GenAI to give different agents generated by the GenAI a profile, so a CV, and they had to embody the profile, and then they entered in a discussion to together elect who would be the best candidate for a given job. And then you could see the entire argumentation about, okay, this person might be better because this, and that. And at the end, they came up with also a rationale of why a certain person. So I think it's quite interesting to see and to mix the ideas with the type of communities that you were talking about can be interesting as well.
Usually GenAI sort of drives us to think about decisions we take in a different way, and these sort of conversations might make us reflect on how we take the recruitment decisions. So in that sense, it's definitely very interesting. When it becomes a decision support tool where it influences strongly hiring decisions, this is where, of course, it becomes more and more tricky, especially as a public service where we need to be able to offer an equal treatment to everyone and also explain every decision we take in our service.
True, that explainability is a big one for sure. But to get back to you, David, then the next question, also linked to the challenges that we were mentioning, what do you see are currently the main challenges for larger implementation of GenAI and AI more broadly in the public sector?
So what we currently see is because in order to implement really fundamental AI initiatives, the basis is very often the data that's underlying. So I was talking before about the interconnectivity, and this is really one of the key topics if we are talking about larger implementation. So because you have to think that a lot of processes and procedures, especially within the public sector, they do not only concern one specific administration or one specific ministry. So here one of the key topics is to start with having a centralization of data, which can be really the underlying foundation also for larger AI models, and in this sense really go into procedures and go into AI initiatives for the citizens as well, that really help to be more efficient in a way that it combines different procedures and processes. So this is really one of the key topics. A second one would be, well, I think it's in the meantime it's a classic, but so we talk a lot about data protection and the ethical use of AI. But in this sense, so this also requires a lot of precautions and steps in order to ensure those privacy aspects. So you have to think about specific environments in which the AI is deployed, and so all this requires additional efforts, additional budget, additional expertise, resources. So those are, let's say, two of the key challenges that we currently see.
I would agree, and I think it echoes a bit what we discussed in the previous episode with Bernard de Villepin on data strategy, governance, and so on.
That's true. I don't know, Inès, if you want to add anything, challenges that you face.
I definitely agree with the points on data and also the more general governance of these projects. I would add resources. So we have more and more administrations hire data scientists, but usually there's only one, and there's only so much you can do with one person. And then we have programs like AI for Gov, where we get access to external resources. But that's usually to develop sort of a POC, or even if it's a larger budget, you may develop a functioning solution. But then comes the whole, integration, scaling, governance, continuous improvement, which is specific to AI, continuous monitoring of biases, ensuring explainability. So that's incredibly resource intensive, and it's often forgotten. We often focus too much on the development stage and forget that there are actually more resources needed for everything that comes after. I would also say a certain limitation, or at least a contextual element, is the explainability. So in the context of the public sector, we are not able to use certain large language models or deep learning methods because they are black boxed, and because we need to be able to explain our results. I think there's a need for more governance framework at the level of the state to have a bit of strategy of where we are, how far we are able to go, and in what sort of context. So that's definitely something that could be needed in the near term.
Interesting, and it's also something that Bernard mentioned, that the function of data scientists is usually underestimated. So, yeah. So let's talk about a very human emotion, which is fear. And historically, when there are new technologies, people always fear the consequences. Mainly, that they will push people out of their jobs. And I have to say that as a content creator, GenAI does cause me some concern. What is your point of view on this? And do you have any data that might relate to this concern?
What is certain is that jobs will transform. People will have to adapt their skills, and that there will be winners and losers, like there have been with all technologies in the past. What we don't know yet is if there will be more jobs created or more jobs destroyed. There are a lot of data, a lot of studies on that, but no agreement, and it's all speculation, basically. What I see, so I'm also doing research on implications of AI on work in the context of my PhD, and what I see is that the impact is more complex than automation of single tasks, but that the dynamics actually around work can completely change. We have today a situation where as workers, when we have a question, we turn to ChatGPT rather than asking our colleagues. So how will collaboration actually look like in the future? We see in research also that implementing AI sometimes limits opportunities for learning, especially for young professionals who get into the job. So the experts, they had their time to actually learn the job, and now they are the one who can use AI tools and critically also sort of supervise them. But at some point, we also need to onboard the new workforce and give them opportunities to learn and to get to an expert level. We don't have experts forever. So I think these dynamics between like collaboration, learning that AI will impact are a lot more complex actually than the automation of single tasks.
That's very interesting. And I was also thinking about mentorship, because you're saying that people are not asking questions anymore to each other, but going to ChatGPT, for instance. But yeah, then the idea of mentorship is kind of lost.
Yeah. So there will, for all technologies, jobs will change, but how do we actually ensure that the people will still be able to learn, to evolve, to collaborate, and to be able to adapt to this changing world? I think that is the even more interesting and more challenging question.
And you give me a very nice segue to the next question, which is how do we ensure that we adapt ourselves and the workforce? So I think it's more for David to start, maybe this one, and if you want to complement after Inès. But in the same context of getting people to be experts and so on about on the market, what role do you see upskilling of the workforce play in relation to AI and Gen AI?
So what we very often see is that in the AI projects, usually they are launched with a focus on the technology, and once they are implemented, so how are we going to onboard the people on how to use it? So it's really let's say a common problem that not only AI related, but that's and technology projects in general. So what we always try to recommend is really to take into account the people aspect from the beginning, like really from the launch of the project. Think about how are we gonna take the people along the journey. So not only when the project is implemented, but really from the beginning to explain to them what's the goal behind it, what do you expect to get out of it, why do we do it. So, and by doing this, you automatically take the fear from the people, because what people fear is always the unknown. But by explaining to the people what you are doing and why you are doing it, especially when it comes to technology like AI that they might not yet fully understand, or maybe some more than others, it's really a key factor to take this into account from the beginning. So the whole training, the change management. So those are really key aspects, especially for AI projects. So.
Yes, I think as a representative of ADEM, I'm quite
Yes.
in favor of upskilling and reskilling workers. I would just like to continue where David left off. I think what is common to most AI projects is that we need workers, especially in the public sector, to supervise algorithms and to take the final decision. So we expect them to think critically. So this critical thinking skill is extremely important. We don't want them neither to blindly refuse the technology nor to blindly accept everything that technology says. And this also relates to taking the fear. I think if we explain the limitations that AI has and where we need the workers to supervise, to think critically, this also valorizes their skills and why it's important that they still have a role to play in this. Maybe a bit more macroeconomic perspective from the perspective of ADEM. So every upskilling, reskilling journey will be different depending on the case, but we sort of see 4 types of career trajectories when implementing AI. Either you can jump into the technology, so really become a technologist, develop the technology of the future. Secondly, you can focus on your expertise, your job, and learn how to use AI to make your job better. Thirdly, you can move to more management level, learn managerial skills, and help to transform your organization to exploit this technology, for example. Or fourth, you can try to do something that is still very little impacted by AI, and there are still these jobs more in the public, in the social domain, for example, but maybe fewer and fewer. So there are different possibilities, and there's not like one path for everyone. But maybe coming back to the first segment, critical thinking and investing in that is definitely a good investment.
Yeah, actually, I did some reading. It was a study from the World Economic Forum about the jobs of the future. And it's interesting. I mean, what you said basically is true. Skills like creativity, problem solving, and so on, they're still going to be much needed. And we need humans for that and not generative AI.
Yeah.
All right. So we were very effective, I think. We are coming to an end. And to wrap things up, I would like to ask you, what are the key takeaways you want to leave our audience with regarding the future of GenAI in the public sector? Who wants to start?
Ladies first.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say first, when you launch these projects, think beyond the development. How will you actually be able to sort of have a governance and have a continuous improvement, integrating feedback and monitoring of the biases, explainability. So really thinking a more long-term view, having users engage with AI. So being clear about the limitations and why you need humans in the loop. And actually showing them, well, usually AI starts out as pretty bad and it sort of improves when getting feedback and users actually really engage with it. And I think that expectation setting should be clear from the start. And maybe something I mentioned earlier, that we need a a governance framework for AI in the public sector. I think that's one message I'd like to leave you with.
Yeah, so maybe what I would add to that is don't be afraid to look elsewhere. I mean, AI is moving incredibly fast. I think a couple of years ago, nobody has heard of ChatGPT, and when you look how its capability has since then improved, it's really moving at an incredible pace. So I think if we want to be able, as Luxembourg and especially in public sector, we really need to work together. So be it between ministries, administrations, but also with private sector, or even don't be afraid to look what are other countries doing, what are our neighbors doing, because in the end, it's we want to stay competitive also as a region. So. Yeah, that's one point. Second point, to really maybe do not be afraid of making mistakes. I mean, especially in AI, it's technology that's still growing, that's still a discovery for most people, and so in that sense, you only learn by making mistakes. They say when you fall, you have to get up, and this is how you learn to walk. And I think it's the same. The same applies to AI. So you can only get better and make the most of the technology when you also try something.
I think there are strong messages and good messages to close the episode. But Carla, you know what time it is.
No.
It's time for an unlisted question, because I didn't ask one this episode, but it's sort of an unlisted question.
So my unlisted question to you is, do you know what is the slogan of our podcast? Because that leads us to the unlisted question that you're talking about. So
that's it for today. No. Okay.
You're out.
TechTalk, technology made simple over a cup of coffee.
Almost.
Okay.
This is TechTalk.
This is TechTalk. That's the one. That's it for today.
Technology made simple over a cup of coffee. You are almost there.
Almost there.
So
where's our cup of coffee?
Afterwards. But that's exactly our question. What is your favorite beverage? Is it coffee? David?
I would say it depends on the time of the day.
Okay, please elaborate.
I like to have a very good coffee in the morning, but let's say the after work I prefer to have a beer.
Okay, what about you, Inès?
Champagne, definitely.
Oh.
Yes.
Good one.
Even acceptable in the morning for brunch in some cases.
Fair enough.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you.
And that's all for today. And this time with the right slogan. This is TechTalk, technology made simple over a cup of coffee. Don't miss out on any future episodes by hitting subscribe. Thank you all for listening, and see you in the next episode.